Aristotle says that you are what you habitually do. So we're all just social media scrolling machines.
That is true of myself. I can confirm.
Welcome back to day something not very large, so I probably should have kept track of it.
5.
Of social distancing. She knows.
I know. I wrote it on the calendar. I want to make sure I have a sense of what's going on.
I came across someone
We started
saying.
on Thursday.
I came across someone saying like, now's the time to start a
No, we
diary
started
for
on
future
Friday.
historians.
We started on Friday because I went into the department on Thursday. I think you started on Thursday.
I started on Thursday.
Yeah, I
I'm a
started
day
on
ahead of
Friday.
you,
Yeah.
which is exactly where you don't want to be. With coronavirus.
Yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel on day 5? Day 4 it feels bad, folks. I won't lie.
Oh yeah, my day 4 sucked. I just couldn't really like focus on anything. And I was shaming myself a bunch. And you know, I was really pretty like at my own throat because I wasn't doing things as well as the high level that I normally do them when there isn't a global pandemic.
Are you trying to tell me that we should make accommodations for the fact that we're in an unprecedented sort of global situation here and everyone is feeling the effects of it even if they're not themselves sick?
I'm trying to tell you that highly optimized systems can often perform very badly when changes in their circumstances happen, even if those circumstances are tangential to the things that they're optimized around.
Oh, maybe that's good though. It's a good reminder.
I'm also trying to tell you that we're supposed to be on holiday this week. And instead what we're going to do is, with our holiday is spend it fretting about not working enough.
Yeah, well, in fairness, we would have been doing some of that anyway.
Speak for yourself and for me. Maybe there are like 8 people on the planet who are like, wow, yeah, I really had a good day of working from home. No, actually, I hope lots of people did.
I hope they did too, but I don't find it likely.
Yeah. I mean, I find 8 people likely.
Yeah, 8 people's about right.
Everyone's angry at mathematicians for making huge order of magnitude estimations, but I think 8 people can work from home. What am I doing? I'm still doing this thing that I said I'd look at for like 2 days. I'm probably going to look at for weeks, and I think I'm okay with that. I've given up on trying to have the whiteboard on screen. It's too much. What are you up to today?
I'm in the middle of checking some calculations I did last week, which is a pencil and paper operation. I left it downstairs. So presently I'm catching up on the news, which is, you know, is that wise? Who can say?
So I did a little bit more maths on my page yesterday. I have no good way of sharing it with you, but then what small fraction of the world wants to see that maths? Who knows? I'm going to put on some lyricless music, if that's okay. scenarios that I've come across, and I'm not on board. Weird that, well, not that surprising, but kind of amazing that royalty-free is still how we describe copyright-free things. Sticking with the old classic. I think this is a... Yeah, I know I have to fix this at some point, that this can be seen.
Fix what?
There's no way to have my working seeable.
Oh, I see.
Tried doing it on the iPad, but it just was too small. Could go out and buy a drawing pad. Just something I've been thinking about for a while, but I'm scared of spending money and going out. So
Probably now is not the time to go out.
could order something from China.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, they've got it under control.
Yeah. Yeah, the function I want? No. Oh god, what's the name of it? One that comes up all the time in Stat Fizz. I just have to put it into order. Inverse gamma? Oh, maybe it is the out function.
Earth.
Oh, wait, no, it's when I do this. General A, we get no, General A will break it. It's just a gamma function. Okay, that's how I get it. So get that should be equal. What's the factor of alpha? Here. Are you still news browsing?
Yeah, I'm just reading a BuzzFeed piece called "The UK Only Realized in the Last Few Days That Its Coronavirus Strategy Would Likely Result in Thousands of Deaths."
Probably true.
Yeah, I'm not taking it. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet.
I mean, yeah, that is kind of the turnaround we've had. So anyone in the UK probably has seen that it's been pretty sharp.
Yeah, this is a news report about the Imperial team coming out with their report on Monday night.
Yeah. One thing that I'd be fascinated to hear is how much the Imperial team's report coincided with the group from St.
Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
Yeah, I'll let you know if there's anything.
The colleges have this state of like having no idea who is there and who isn't, because we've had slightly all over the place advice about whether to leave or not.
It is worth saying, this isn't some huge cover-up. This data wasn't really knowable until a couple days ago.
Yeah.
In the UK, this conclusion has only been reached in the last few days, the report explained, due to new data on likely intensive care unit demand based on the experience of Italy and Britain so far. I mean, because that's where the deaths are really going to come. People who can't get ventilators when they need them.
And I think it did take ascertaining that those Italian numbers were right, which 3 days of doing that is about reasonable.
Yeah.
That's three good data points.
I don't think we know very much about immunity in the wake of infection. This is something that I've seen a lot of conflicting information about online in the past couple of days. Like, once you have it, are you then immune forever? Like, no, ultimately you're not, because I think we expect this to end up in this sort of seasonal flu rotation. And you can certainly get the flu more than once because there's different strains of flu that make their way around. I think we expect this virus to fall into the same category ultimately, but we don't expect mutations to play a significant role in the short term. So as far as like how long will you be immune, that's I think an unknown quantity right now. And you can't really make these models without understanding that.
I'm a little surprised if the models are looking that far forward in time though.
I don't think they would be necessarily, but they're relying on the assumption that number is greater than 6 months, let's say. That's certainly an assumption that's in there. It would have to be, right? Like unless they have reason to believe specifically that it's not.
It's going to be really easy to distrust basically any source of information over the next few days, particularly because I do think that in a week or so we'll actually have kind of all the data we need to know where this is going. And it's going to be so easy to point fingers at people. Like we've talked before about how it just makes no sense to me that people are like, China did everything wrong. And like,
no, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I mean the place where this originates, they're charting new territory. Even though China has, in recent years, dealt with both SARS and MERS, I think. So I think the first place deserves a pass for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. But
also, like, they really got a handle on it quickly, and they did it in quite authoritarian ways. But I mean, we're now seeing similarly authoritarian measures being placed in continent of Europe, at least. And I think some of the criticism for China is like, did they keep this a secret for too long? And I wonder if they hadn't, would anything have changed? We're seemingly quite slow to respond, even when we have the information about where this is going. I don't know.
I don't think we're really making a pro or anti-China point here.
No,
just
I
kind
don't either.
Anti-moderate is my point at a time like this. I don't think anyone has the expertise to be too far from moderate right now. So keep a lookout for anyone who is. And anyone who is quick to point a finger and be like, someone did something wrong. Should have read my book in time. My second book. I haven't written a word either. No, that's not true. I've written a few chapters in the first one.
Yeah. I would love to talk to Ari. I wonder what her life is like these days.
If you're watching, Ari, come say hi on stream.
Yeah. Anyway, there's no information here about Queen Mary. It's just a very brief summary.
Can't make a pitch. You gotta get units from downstairs.
I might just go work downstairs, I think. We'll see. It's gonna be a game time decision. study group is having a Zoom meetup tonight.
Hmm.
You know the extreme time dilation effect that's been sort of dissolving my brain, at least since I got a Reddit account, but it's strongly accelerated since the 2016 presidential election in the United States. Yeah, so it turns out that it was only Thursday, this past Thursday, that Boris Johnson gave that press conference that revealed that the UK strategy might differ at all from the sort of international standard, if there is such a thing at this point. So on Thursday he announced the government would no longer try to track and trace the contacts of every suspected case, and would only test people who are admitted to hospitals, and wouldn't announce any major social distancing measures. So if you're symptomatic, you should stay home, you shouldn't travel abroad, and if you're elderly, you shouldn't go on a cruise. Like, that was the advice on Thursday. And they announced the intention of stricter measures down the line, but not at the time. And that's where the, quote, behavioral fatigue argument comes in. Like, if you announce social distancing right away, then you might get people basically with cabin fever deciding, I'm done with this too soon, and accelerating the epidemic again in a few weeks. So just to say, like, I am seeing the argument made that, like, it was the UK's explicit goal to achieve herd immunity. I don't think that's what the goal was. I think herd immunity would be a side effect of that strategy in the best case scenario. And then if there were to be a resurgence next winter, then that herd immunity could come into play as an important damping factor.
I think people just picked up on that word because people, like, your Facebook time dilation is great. Like, people are living through this really syncopated, desperate for the clock to advance so they can know what happens next, but desperate for it not so that the thing won't happen. And a little phrase like herd immunity can fire up one of 1,000 like gotchas. Like, we're going to see so much gotchaing for a little while. As people try and feel like they're making progress and understanding this and fighting it by gotchaing each other about, like, actually this is wrong and this is right.
I mean, I mostly experienced this as having no idea how long it's been since some event happened, some news event, generally. Like, there's so much that ends up not mattering, but is a huge deal at the time. And those are sort of false landmarks in my memory.
Yeah.
And I look back and it's kind of flooded with those. And if not to recall, I couldn't tell you any of them. But if they're mentioned, I'm like, yes, I remember that happening.
Yeah.
And the distribution of those, I don't know, it doesn't meaningfully cover the past in a way that my pre-internet mental landmarks did. Like, they're very clustered towards the past 3 months, obviously.
Yeah.
That can make the past 3 months feel like my entire working lifespan memory, which should be 15 years or something.
I mean, you do just, and I do the same, but to a lesser extent, you take in the most incredible amount of information from the internet.
Yeah.
To a degree that, I'm going to out you,
Mm-hmm.
is really unhealthy.
I know. I agree.
Healthy instincts taken to unhealthy extremes.
I don't know if it's a healthy instinct.
Oh, it's just instinct to learn.
I don't think that's where it's coming from. I don't think I'm reading Reddit's Am I the Asshole forum to learn.
I think it might have come from it being a place where you could learn about masking.
Maybe.
Like right now, you kind of don't want to be doing this browsing, but you've got the knack. You're right.
I do think it comes from a misguided instinct, like if I know more about it, then maybe I could do something. I think this isn't an original thought, but it is very difficult being stuck here with essentially nothing to do except the mandate not to leave. Like,
Yeah.
that is the number one thing that everyone can do. Like, even if they have expertise in data science, if they have expertise in statistical modeling, it's like the answer is what you can do is stay home.
Yeah.
Like, that is much more helpful than you could ever be. Everybody wants to be a sort of like Bletchley Park figure. You know, like, everybody's got those aspirations, I think. But the answer is no, don't go to work, stay home.
I chat about it sometimes, but these historical figures, these kind of people who, these everyday heroes, that survivorship bias. Not because they weren't, like, they were the ones out of the thousands of people who could have been there, who were there, and yeah, they did fantastic things and should be rewarded for it. But they're not other people, they're not. This is another way in which I think a lot of our media is, I've been talking a lot about fascism recently, got really interested in it, but I think this is something that we see everywhere that veers into fascism, a kind of like singular hero, hey, this person can do this. And like, if you look at it in something like science journalism, it rings so hollow if you're part of the science world, because to make these singular heroes, they have to pick people who you're like, yeah, that person's really smart and they do cool work, and be like, this person's a genius, and you're like, no, that person, like, about once a month, I see them crash their bike into a bollard that they seem to just not be able to work out is there.
This is a really interesting point, because I hear the point made often that it's a false thing to pick out one scientist now that science is so team-based, and now that everyone's scientific advancements depend on the work of essentially hundreds of people, at minimum.
Apparently, like, that's not actually how we work.
That's
that
not.
is what everyone says.
Well, it's not how we work. You know, like we didn't invent exoplanets from scratch.
Yes, true.
And we're not on the CERN team. Like, we're not on papers with 5,000 people, but we're also not working in a vacuum. We're not Isaac Newton inventing calculus alone. Yeah, he probably didn't. That's how we talk about it, but he probably didn't. But there's another layer to this, which I hear discussed less often, still discussed, but that it would be completely impossible for any one of these bozos to make incredible scientific discoveries unless the rest of their life were essentially taken care of for them by lots of other people. Like, the bike crashing example is a great one, because it's like, you do see that sometimes, and you also see people were sort of unable to function in the adult real world without like a support staff, basically. Yeah. And pick out the accomplishments of the one enabled by the many, it does ring hollow in an important way.
One of my big fears is not being high functioning enough to stay in this environment, because this is an environment built around equipping people who are high functioning in some field of intellect with the tools they need to kind of forgive them for being low functioning in other parts of the world.
Most of the discussion I see around this comes in feminist circles, unsurprisingly, just because the academic system as it sort of evolved from, 1850 to present day, mostly relied on the assumption that great men would not have any domestic cares. Like they could focus exclusively on the work. The Cambridge College system is one way to achieve that. Like sort of you live in college, you have your intellectual life, your meals are provided for you, there's maids, etc. who take care of cleaning, I assume. And
Ish, yeah,
I don't know. And that's how you are able to do these great intellectual feats. In the US we don't have that system obviously, but it's still implicitly based on the idea that you have a stay-at-home wife, essentially, who will run the rest of your life for you while you think great thoughts.
Yeah.
And the system has not evolved to compensate for the fact that women are not in that role anymore, generally speaking.
Also, it's worth pointing out, I doubt many people who are ever going to come across this video are against feminism in academia, but it will be feminist academic circles that relight up the teaching of maths and physics. It will be feminist academic circles that rethink through how we use computers. Not because feminism is inherent in that, but because the other option at this point is conservative patriarchal circles who are just doing the same old boring shit. It might be post-feminist circles, but if you're like, oh, don't stick feminism in academia, let them stick it in there. It'll almost immediately not matter, and you'll have a fresh group of people with new ideas, because it should no one person can make that much difference. Sometimes a new idea can, 50 years down the line, make a big difference. Anyone who thinks a new idea will immediately light up the world, it takes so long. At quickest, if it has immediate repercussions for financial and infrastructure and other academics, it can be 20 years for an idea to propagate out. Some bits of the computer propagated out in about 20 years, but no one's going to have the idea that solves this crisis. It's not actually how science works. It might happen, but the chances are low enough that I wouldn't be waiting on it. No one's going to come up with a magic vaccine. The vaccine process is going to take roughly as long as vaccine processes take, give or take a factor of 2. Probably. I can't say any of this stuff for certain. I'm trying to always push against to have it to talk in absolute terms. Relativism always.
I think vaccine development in general is a 5 to 10 year process.
Yeah.
And in a situation like we have here, we might expect it to be accelerated 2-3 years. I don't know. That's an order of magnitude estimation, but there are things that can't be sped up. You need to do trials of the vaccine and observe the short, medium, and long-term consequences and make sure there's no deleterious health effects. That's something that you can't accelerate.
A robot was offering me to become famous.
Hey.
A robot with a good name.
Who?
Tomato Bagel.
Oh, that's good.
I started, just gonna get this off the screen. I started Turing testing people that came by the stream. And I plan to continue doing so.
Just on an earlier topic before I go get my stuff. There's a Twitter account that was quite active for a while, maybe isn't anymore, where they just posted pictures of all of these sort of academic texts from the 1900s where men acknowledged their wives for typing their work for them in the acknowledgement section. It's an incredible number. It was just like standard practice for a long time.
There's a bit
Get your
of
wife
me
to
that,
type it.
that still like has this instinct, and I think it's worth acknowledging it. Like I don't agree with it, but I still am a bit like there was a bit where I was like, there was a period where I was like, couldn't Emily just write my papers? And it's like, no, she has better shit to do. I would love.
Oh, it was a hashtag. It wasn't an account.
I would love for anyone who feels like it online to have a go at editing some of my videos, because they all need editing, and I just don't have the time or headspace.
Hashtag thanks for typing. That's what it was.
There's one other little thing I wanted to say. Oh, just it might feel like a lot is happening very quickly at the moment, but actually we're entering into a phase where news is generated at about the slowest rate it ever has been, because we're all inside. So if you are glued to news sources, well, actually, if you're glued to them, you've probably formed a habit, and no judgment on you. It's a bad habit, but no judgment. Maybe too late. But don't go gluing yourself to news sources, because nothing's going to happen. There's not really any way in which this is this isn't a situation that turns on a knife edge. The only thing, like, I've been watching the news closely to see when social distancing will be advised for everyone. But if you're now practicing social distancing, if you have all the prescriptions and all the drugs you need for a while, if you have a full stock fridge, you're kind of in for the long haul, and that's alright. The first step then is not trying to immediately be as good and as productive as you ever have been before. The first step is actually finding a way to happily be in your house around people that you love. But stop reading the news so much. Read the news a few times a day. Because every time you chat with someone, you're going to discuss the news anyway. It's not like you're going to miss anything.
Right. It's impossible to get away from these conversations.
Yeah. And if you really want, you can be like, have you seen Idris Elba has it?
Fake news. Do we know
That's
that?
true.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
I'm not
Sorry.
going to spread fake news.
I don't know. I thought you were picking a celebrity at random.
No.
I don't know. Sorry. My apologies to the Elba family.
Yeah. God, they tune in.
Yeah. Oh man, no, I'm sorry. Tom Hanks has it too. That's all I know. That's all I got, folks. I do recommend checking out hashtag thanks for typing, which died down in 2017, which means that Twitter search function finally works pretty well to get the top results for it. It's very interesting. The example of Sonia Tolstoy is probably the most extreme one. She rewrote the bulk of the manuscript of War and Peace, which is a 1,000-page novel, 8 times by hand. Which is, oh my god.
I, as a person who's never rewritten anything by anything.
I mean, this paragraph, can I just read this paragraph?
Yeah.
I think this comes from a biography of Sonia Tolstoy. Or no, a New York Times article about Sonia Tolstoy.
Are we going to get...
There probably hasn't been a full biography of Sonia Tolstoy, if we're honest.
If anyone's like, who should I write a biography about?
Sonia Tolstoy. She deserved.
Yeah.
She bore 13 children, 4 of whom died in infancy or early childhood. Between confinements, she was her husband's secretary, copy editor, and financial manager. By 1869, when the last chapters of War and Peace were being written, Sonia had displayed her dedication to her husband's literary genius by copying the bulk of the manuscript with its frequent revisions 8 times by hand, of course. With the aid of a special tray that enabled her to write propped up in bed, Sonia even managed to continue working on the manuscripts while she was recovering from an attack of puerperal fever that nearly killed her. Tolstoy, who was revolted by the process of pregnancy and childbirth, didn't stick around the bedroom once he had seen to the installation of the tray. My man! Oh my god. True that you're a literary genius, but like, go jump off a bridge or something.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Oh man. Also, who isn't revolted by pregnancy and childbirth? Isn't everybody revolted by that?
It's kind of fine.
It's pretty revolting. I don't know. Maybe I'm
You're
biased
revolted
here.
by a lot more than I am.
Yeah. It's true. Also, I mean, you would think, even if it's truly inherently revolting, which, for argument's sake, let's just say it is, because that's, balance of probability and all that. After the 13th time, you'd think everybody would be pretty used to it. Like, how different could it be?
Yeah, but I think after like the 3rd time, you've decided what I do is I avoid childbirth.
Yeah, but that's my
and
point.
then you start tabooizing it.
Decide not to do that, like, early on. Don't be an ass from the beginning.
You're saying that you should decide to take decisions to build good habits and not shame yourself for it being hard to do so.
Who? Oops. Anyway.
Maybe there's... when you make a New Year's resolution and it's like a good thing, I think the whole idea of resolutions has always been a little bit confusing to me. But maybe you should also decide to do a really shitbag thing. You should be like, I'm gonna go to the gym more often, and I'm just not gonna wash my socks as much.
Yeah, sort of limited reserve of willpower theory.
Yeah. Because building habits is hard.
It's very hard.
Especially building good habits.
It's extremely
Who
easy to
decided
build
that the good
habits.
habits should be the hard ones to do?
I'm gonna go outside and start a habit of just yelling obscenities into the backyard.
Yeah, that's very easy to start that.
Extremely easy to start that habit. Why is that so easy? Whereas if I try to meditate for 10 minutes a day, extremely awful and difficult. Alright, I'm gonna go get some work done. It's been real.
Yeah, it has been real. It's been nice having a chat with you.
Nice.
I mean, we chat all the time, but it's, I'm trying to persuade everyone to feel like this space is hers as well.
Yeah, no,
And you, not you the viewer, but you the camera and the microphone, I think are slightly off-putting for that.
I'm getting used to it.
As they are for me.
Yeah. I think there's a value in this.
Yeah.
Certainly in the age of social distancing. I think it's a useful and necessary thing.
I mean, it is true that, if I hadn't said I was going to do this, if I hadn't already kind of been on the path of it, I don't think I'd be doing it now.
No.
It feels quite exposing and about the hardest time.
I don't mind being on the microphone because I'm only on the microphone when I actively decide to be on the microphone.
Yeah.
But I'm on the camera the whole time.
Yeah. Well, you're not.
No, I know I'm not. That's why I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, if I were, I would be.
Yeah.
But I'm not, so I'm not. Hashtag good writing.
If we had a cat, the cat would be on the camera.
We talk about this. We've been talking about this for the past day and a half.
Well, actually, we had a very short conversation about it because it is just
Yeah.
completely true. Like it is.
It would be nice to have a cat
Yeah.
now.
No, it is the wrong decision of ours to not currently own a cat.
Yeah,
Like we don't it.
we don't it in that respect. The problem is we might be about to move into accommodation that would absolutely not allow a cat over the summer.
Yeah. You can have Tippy for a bit.
Yeah. Well, if your parents ever decide to hide out at the Oast, we can bring Tippy and Clara out here.
Cara will die.
Yeah. It would be time.
Yeah.
I'm not urging Cara along into the next life. But I do believe Kara knows when it's time.
Oh yeah, Kara's been on the precipice of death for 5 years.
I really thought last summer, I was like, God, this cat is really looking rough. And then she put on a lot of weight over the winter and she looks great now. Like, she's doing fine.
I mean, just the stress of both my parents being at home a lot might be enough to kill her.
Yeah.
I think any change to her environment might...
Maybe it was just that Tippy arrived and she was like, I don't like this.
Yeah, she hated Tippy.
Yeah.
Cause she had the Fury years.
Yeah.
And then Fury died and she didn't really have anything to live for because, you know...
Oh.
Fury was the protagonist of the story. Kara was the person in Don Quixote whose name I can't remember.
Sancho Panza.
Yeah.
Listen, Sancho Panza is really important. There would be no Don Quixote without Sancho Panza.
Miss Watson is the most interesting character.
Yeah, well, Watson writes the fucking stories.
Yeah, I actually agree, but it's important to create strife in difficult times.
I hashtag Sancho Panza has been defamed. I don't know. How do we get Sancho Panza trending? Sancho Panza deserves.
We don't know how to get anything trending.
No, we don't. And I just want to say this ties back into the conversation we were having earlier. Don Quixote is the driver of the story, inarguably. He wants to put on a suit of armor and go forth to battle giants and rescue maidens and attend kings and all of that. But Sancho Panza makes sure that this senile, crazy old man stays alive and is okay.
There is only one thing we're ever talking about. By the way, I started the game last night. That is already transcendently good.
Oh yeah? What's it called?
And completely, like, I knew I was going to enjoy it, but it is completely amazed me. It's called Disco Elysium, and you're playing as a detective in a legally dubious kind of port town between jurisdictions in the 70s. And
where geographically?
it's not clear. The place has a French-ish name, but I just want to show you, like, this is the kind of level of art style which just blew me away.
Gonna be on camera for a sec.
Oh, be big. Simply be big. Not you.
Me.
Well, you can see this one clearly. Your skills in it, like in an RPG, your skills are often lock picking and jumping and iron working. Your skills in this are things like conceptualization and visual calculus. I've got to get a better vision in this. Each with these kind of gorgeous things, and a lot of the dialogue is with your own mind and with your own conceptualization of the thing. It's the first time so many things blew me away almost immediately, but one thing was that one of the things you do is you set a thought running in your brain and it runs over time. I have never seen a game or even much literature address the fact that thoughts take time.
That's pretty amazing.
I'm really excited to play more of this, and I'll play it at some point. Probably today. I'm going to make a coffee because it is IOA coffee time. So we're back in a sec. Every time I'm off camera, I gain viewers. Which, fine. I'm gonna key into our coffee time. Hey guys.
Hey, Zephyr.
Oh wait, let me turn the music off quickly. How you guys doing?
Good. Hey.
Hi.
Good. Tired. Working at home is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this. I work at home a lot, but it's still really hard.
He's in the thing. He's in the house. Jake, Stefan, Tom, Zephyr. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. How's everyone?
Good, mostly, yeah, good.
Shall we crack heritage morning coffee biscuits?
Well, you see, one great advantage of this is now I can have dark chocolate digestives instead of just chocolate digestives.
We've got some really questionable biscuits like in the shop.
I've kind of gone the other way, and I've gone from chocolate digestives to just digestives.
They're called morning coffee biscuits.
So I looked these up yesterday, and I decided they look like the blandest biscuits you could imagine. I mean, you are allowed to like them.
Well, I don't know if I like them yet. I can't open the packet.
Hey, Steve.
Hello. Oh, wait, it's the other one.
I just realised I'm waving because that's what I've been told to do now, but that doesn't work.
Yeah. What was that? What was it supposed to work for?
Instead of handshaking.
Oh, right.
Well, to be honest, I mean, handshaking also so...
Also, do you often shake people's hands when they arrive at coffee?
Oh, look, there's a thing to make a difference.
No, but I often wave at people when they arrive at coffee.
Yeah.
Heritage morning coffee.
Yes, I noticed I ran out of coffee of cookies.
Oh, look, it says morning coffee. It says morning coffee on the biscuit.
What do you think would happen if you tried to have them with afternoon tea?
I think it would be fine.
You think it would still work?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know if it would work or not, but I think, it would be underwhelming
Okay.
as an experiment.
I mean, if you had to imagine the most generic possible biscuit, if you had to imagine what generic biscuit tastes, probably exactly this.
Okay, I'm getting myself some extra coffee. See you a bit later.
Cool. Oh, by the way, I'm currently streaming. Is everyone okay with being broadcast to the world?
Yeah.
My main viewer this morning has been a bot that wants to make me famous, so...
Ooh, that's exciting.
What did he say?
Do you want to become famous? Oh, I should put you in touch with this person. Then, like, unlike some Do You Want to Become Famous, they're even selling a perfectly legitimate service. They're just selling you followers.
Has everyone had a good morning then?
No.
I ventured out of the house this morning. It was interesting. Yeah.
Brilliant. I walked down the road to the post box and stayed 2 meters away from everyone I saw. Oh, I don't know, doesn't want to come into the kitchen.
Because it's too close to,
To anyone, I think, in the basement. It's like living in a minefield with all these milling around in this room. Yeah. Walking to the mine. I spent
Hello.
making
Everyone sounds like they're getting further and further away.
I moved to a room and realised that under my window was black. So I've used up the last of the mold spray, by the way. Oh shit. When we get placed with mold over the balconies and self-isolation, we'll be everywhere. But yeah, my curtains are too long, so it won't let any air get to it, so I thought I'd bolt them all. One of them's in the washing machine and one of them's duct tape. No, now it's getting well, I mean, it's just kind of like dark and damp, not circulating. Allow it to dry. Maybe. I don't know, I'm chatting shit. But curtains are annoying me anyway. Where's my tea? Oh, Zach was there, I think.
Yeah.
By the way, Eric, you know your microphone's muted, right?
Tom, if you create another text channel for Matplotlib Colour of the Day, I'll try and post it every day. Like it's currently dark violet.
Okay, that's important.
I'm tempted to start a text channel of specifically not Matplotlib colours because I stand by my. I will die on the hill that there are only bad colours in Matplotlib.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm going to go one further and demonstrate this on stream.
Are you going to add a little reaction to each colour?
Well, I could do, yeah. There's quite a variety of emojis.
One pot made with that colour each day, just to show the way it's doing.
Exactly.
Building that yeah. If I have to stop showing what's good work, it's going to be in dark violet, where they're not freaking.
Oh yeah, dark violet. That's not very good.
Not very good.
I mean-
Controversial.
I sort of don't understand how the Matplotlib colours are as bad as they are. It's always felt like they took a perfectly reasonable set of colours and then they changed them imperceptibly to make them worse.
Donate, Dr. Donate.
In case big Matplotlib is listening.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. I can't
Right, by the way, how did the rest of the mill quiz go after I left?
we submitted it and he sent back a direct message with what we got wrong on.
Mm-hmm.
You can read that to you if you'd like.
Did you do the mill quiz online?
Yeah. I'll just assume it was all correct.
Yeah. Apparently the ones that we thought were state flags were state nicknames, but he gave it
I wasn't there for that.
oh, never mind.
What was that? Was that a connections round?
Yeah.
Go look that up.
Bluegrass, yeah. Something else. Buddy Holly's shoes should have been his glasses, apparently.
Oh right, yeah, that makes sense.
What is the pelican thing?
Oh, I think it's like Alabama or something. It's something in the southeast.
Okay.
Maybe I don't think it's Georgia. Might be Georgia.
Yeah.
I think we should learn one.
Remotely connect, maybe. That's
It's Louisiana.
Yeah, we could stick an only connect wall every day on the grid.
What?
Yeah.
There's a channel for that, a voice channel. We
Yeah.
didn't do it on the morning yesterday. Me, Tom, and Steve did it in the afternoon.
Yeah. Should we go to go? No?
Oh, I don't know where my name left.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, by the way, I love the idea of the Minecraft game.
The what, sorry?
The
building
Minecraft,
game. Yeah.
or any
It's
building
really
game.
fun.
I would love to play some Astroneer as well.
Yeah, I was looking at getting that, but I decided it
Minecraft.
didn't look that fun.
So annoying. I can't play Minecraft. I can play that on my
Yeah, this is like the worst possible time.
I know.
Oh, what was that, Adam?
I can't play Minecraft on my laptop and my desktop's broken, so
Oh, what's wrong with the desktop?
I don't know.
Good question.
Oh, mysterious.
It just won't work.
Have you tried replacing the CMOS battery?
Does that stop?
I don't know. It's my universal. I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but this fixes it with an amazing success rate. Fix. There's a little watch battery on the motherboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have found that taking it out and putting it back in solves so many problems.
Hmm.
If it's a watch style battery, we might actually have to know.
It won't need replacing. You just pop it out and back in again.
Something. Will it not boot at all?
No.
Hmm.
Yeah, it used to. I think it's a problem with the graphics card.
If it's a problem with the graphics card, you should be able to take the graphics card out,
Yeah.
and then when you turn it on, it will boot on the motherboard's internal graphics, and that will allow you to check if everything else is working.
Okay, yeah.
The most effective way of getting out is self-isolate fixing the computer. Is this where we all remotely fix Adam's computer?
If I help Adam fix his computer, I can think I've done something productive today.
My rule I've set myself now is just do one thing that you can call productive a day. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like a half-hour task. Do that, and anything else is a freebie.
Right across the city.
Not across, I think it could be yeah. Very well, but it
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
I think you just switch your broadband device.
Do we know any?
No.
Wait, was that an advert? You destroyed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a really weird noise outside. Can you hear this? Okay, it's like a weird, like, scraping metal noise. Like a mid-tone whining sound. Pretty weird. Yeah, I can't personally do well. 11,
I think you're on a
11
different
down.
time.
Let down,
Oh yeah,
That's
second
the
fiddle.
right, isn't
Yeah.
it? What is going on in 25?
We're doing it on the Chromecast.
It'll be anagram do re mi plan, right?
must be
I think it's a continuation of 24.
Yeah, we're never sure how these ellipsis clues work. There's another Born to Run in clue 19.
Springsteen reference?
Yeah. Well, hour and a half.
there's a lot of interesting.
Oh,
Maybe Swedish ones. Norwegian.
it doesn't fit.
No.
Do re mi flat.
What is going on with this noise? This is so strange. See if you
I can hear a kind of like,
can you hear it now?
yeah, like a 60s film UFO sound.
Yeah. It's so loud, it's echoing all over. It's really weird. Maybe this is the sound of the virus. Maybe that's what it sounds like. There's a story. Does anyone have any of these like embarrassing stories from when they were little that parents loved to tell them over and over again? Because I have one of these, which is we were at a beach in Menorca, and my parents had told me to watch out for sea urchins. And so I was paddling in the sea, and suddenly someone started up like a motorbike or something on the road behind the beach that I couldn't see. And so I ran out of the sea because I thought the sound was the sea urchin.
What were you doing in Menorca? You weren't at Menorca sailing, were you?
Not when I was like 5.
Okay.
No. Though I have sailed a very small amount in Menorca later. So.
Oh, yeah. King.
Is 10A just 4? 10 across. From cats.
Hey, 17 starts with O.
Oh, because of coronavirus, I've forgotten how to differentiate logs.
That's what Wolfram Alpha is for.
Yeah. This is just like, my brain is just not working right now.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Tom, if 17 across is begins with an A,
That was a pretty funny time for Discord to crash. I just heard you say my name and then it closed.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is 17 across? Is it an anagram of booze? If it
It
starts
could be.
and it's 5 letters.
Yeah.
But
Obse?
that doesn't make any sense. You can't make another word from that, can you?
Yeah, I think it would. Also, I'm not.
Oboes.
Sure what the definition would be. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hi, Mick.
Oh, hello.
Hey. Everyone. A virtual coffee break.
Yeah, very important.
So you're doing the crossword?
Yeah, we are. It's a coffee break.
Yeah. It's not terrible.
You don't have to do the crossword.
You don't have to.
You can just sit here in
Well,
silence.
I mean, is it available to view somewhere?
Yeah, we have a separate.
You should maybe make the channel not locked, Tom.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be able to help, but
No, it's nice to be doing a shared thing.
I think that is going to be useful and full purpose. Oh, being Apple, yeah. You know, great. Star, you can kind of stick around it a little bit, like Apple, L and star, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, anagram Apple, L, star.
Which one's this? No.
Yeah, must be on bed.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got it without even saying.
Yeah. So it's P in OED, right?
I feel like there should be some way to all be actually looking at the same grid.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good way to do this. If I played around with.
Could someone share their screen or something?
I mean, you can all see it
Yeah.
on the stream if you want, although I haven't got anything typed in.
There's a sort of one thing crafted as a server for the same thing.
There we go.
Hey, Tom is alive.
Is Tom's screen showing now?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't connect sound, please.
What was that?
I mean, the signals are all there, so.
Oh.
Let's get on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The UFO sounds have moved on to at least the 70s.
The washing machine just starts spinning, but maybe that's all.
Yeah.
The quality has just got so bad.
Yeah, because I had to switch to my laptop right now, but that's not too shall I just have it on average? Yeah. Screen now. What are we looking at now? Is this your screen or somebody? Sources, cast desktop. Oh, yeah, oh, really? Oh, you got it in there. I can't make it bigger. Someone else will have to do the sound if they want to do better quality. I was thinking cover for one that I can't find anymore. What? Which one? Getting across. I'm not sure exactly why, but I think it's like punk backwards. So it's EP and then PA somewhere. Like Health Resort and then brew. Breathing it. Spa? Has no special, has no S. Yeah,
Sorry, have we got one? Could you just type it?
I'm just muting the Jake household. So, let anyone tell me if they say anything interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much calmer.
Oh, hello. Oh, wait. I really can speak with you.
Wait, so. Oh, I can make it like that.
One of you needs to mute the other, or both of you need to mute each other.
My laptop.
That washing machine.
It's amazing, it's so loud.
Quiet one.
Yeah, it's Anish. I was gonna say it sounded abnormally quiet for a minute. Nope. There goes Anish. And with him, our chances of finishing the crossword.
Oh.
Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Is anybody out there?
Yeah,
Can you-
I am still in.
Are you?
Yeah.
I can still hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Yep, we can still hear you.
Someone is deafened according to Discord.
Oh, really?
Jake is deafened.
Andy's in.
Andy,
Well, I
definitely.
don't know. It just says Andy.
This is...
Steve Young and Jake. Cat's in.
Captain.
And Anish popped in for a minute and then disappeared again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can they hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like this would be so much easier if they all just lived in separate houses.
Hmm.
Hello?
Hello? You
Oh.
hear us now?
Yeah.
I would maybe invest as a gift in a mic for them.
Okay.
14 records all purpose. Yeah.
14 down.
Can we pass the audio through the TV?
I don't know if Discord can Chromecast.
Not really. What about if you have Discord from tab and you pass the whole tab to the CD?
Yeah.
I thought that was what you were doing. Well, I
No, I'm currently investing with my desktop.
Is it easier if I stop this?
Oh, right, no, okay.
Is it easier if I stop the streaming and we just type them in?
Yeah, well, we have our own version up here anyway, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm enjoying the streaming.
Okay.
But
It's useful for like keeping an eye on where the overall thing is at.
Yeah,
it'd be good if I
also I'm now streaming the streaming, so you're just making content for me.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Have all our technical issues have been broadcast to your stream?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can listen back to it now and see what it sounded like from our end.
Day 2 of self-isolation. Worked out how to bring it across the... These biscuits are so mediocre. This will help us like eat them out because they're like so uncompelling.
You're going to be finished with the biscuits in like 2 days, and then we're just going to have reminiscing about the biscuits being mediocre for weeks.
I miss even the biscuit that Scary one put in there. Scary Monica put out.
Has the overall grid got all purpose yet? The...
Oh, no, you're doing it.
No.
So why is it all purpose?
Apple. Oh right, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking you had to miss out letters there, but no, that just completely works.
And cooking being the anagram indicator.
Yeah.
Ozeki.
What if Ozeki was a...
Oh, for 17.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Well, because you just muted her audio.
No, so she's not speaking, but she's hearing.
Yeah.
Should we I'm gonna look up if Ozeki was a
We know you're listening. What's this one? Yeah.
Interesting.
Ozeki is in Tibet.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Alright.
25 days, right?
It's specifically a rank in sumo.
Oh, it's on 25 times.
Yeah, you go down to
Oh, yeah.
Nice one, guy. If you're listening, I'm going to I have to select all images of the bus.
You have to select all images of the bus.
It's in general.
Yeah, that's
mix up program.
Do we think that means that 24 is in a palindrome?
I'm not sure.
It'd be hard to with that.
I mean, there are only 26 options, so that's a
Yeah.
palindrome.
I mean, lute fits, which is at least an instrument.
No, it could be no loop. It could be blue.
Could be oboe,
Could be over.
which is almost a
I
palindrome.
think the definition is going to be instrument because it's not the first word. I think it's going to be play
Yeah,
or play instrument.
maybe it is a play, and backwards it's an instrument.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Who's joined?
It's Sam, right?
Hi, Sam.
Mm-hmm. How's the grid going?
Pretty
falling
slowly,
apart.
honestly.
It's bad for a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Quite hard to actually.
The coordinators is tricky.
I think this is the time where we.
Cat's doing a Wikipedia dive in this university.
Shall we develop some specific Discord thing as a hack project for crossword solving? If these books are uncompelling, I'm really struggling to get through them.
Oh, Steve's gone into the grid.
Me?
No,
I'm
it's the
Sam.
Steve.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Everyone's.
Oh wait, is there a separate voice chat for the grid?
There is a separate voice chat for the grid.
Oh, I now
But we,
understand.
I mean, I feel like there aren't really enough people here to.
Warren.
Right. Yeah, that works. Oh no, wait. Why is it on the shine?
Does he want that catwalk shuffles for?
Oh, if it's got an I there, then yeah, I think it's probably shine.
Well,
The film, but
Is there a film called Shine?
it's plausible, I guess.
there probably is, yeah.
Oh,
Or is it
yeah,
like a
that's
film
the name
that's
of the
showing
film,
a film
yeah.
with soap? Then I go with Bill.
Yeah, technically that's true.
Why?
Is The Yard a film?
What was that then?
22 and 23, I'm wondering why Yard is capitalised.
Well, it usually refers to Scotland Yard, right?
Okay.
But I think it'll be something like it'll refer to if you've cut the grass 3 times or something. And I think it'll be no something.
Which one?
22, 23.
And it's one of these horrible ones where it's one word but it's split.
Oh yeah, it's a split.
Makes me
Good thing
sick.
Anish isn't here. He wouldn't like that.
He was, isn't he?
He was actually. Yeah, that means I haven't given him the permissions to see all the relevant chats and things.
Just
I like how in the user list it shows me as streaming a game.
Yeah,
This is a game.
it's very much a game.
Uh-huh.
Also, what's the quizzes tag or the role?
Oh, we did the mill quiz last night.
Oh, via Twitter.
It was pretty good.
Did it get marked or like did you get points or did you
He
just?
told us what was wrong rather than anything marking it.
Okay.
Slid into French DM.
I think we probably did quite well overall.
We did, I think.
What, as in you're getting
We're getting the box.
I
don't go in the box.
That was a nice slurping sound.
Since when we had a sex scandal?
They were in my room, but I was just all about them down. We can see how fat we get over
I
quarantine.
don't want to see that. Sure, if we're in quarantine, like, the next food quickly.
Yeah, we're also not going anywhere. Not leaving the fucking house.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some reasonable exercise. Victoria was saying there's like a
Andy said he's going to leave us in circuits at some point, which I might pay for.
Oh, it's
price
is 15 eulogizer.
yeah, sorry.
Is 15 something like eulogizer? Is that what is that someone who gives a eulogy?
Yeah.
Definition: people praising one of those late.
Eulogist? No, wouldn't be long enough.
Yeah, it does want to be that, doesn't it? Because you've got a T, where it's anagram goals use it.
Oh yeah.
Eulogists. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the anagram. Yeah, I'm gonna fill that in.
The anagram is 10 long.
Oh, you need to take out A, without beginning to apologise.
Oh yeah.
Well, so apologizes. The eulogist cookies.
What is that? In terms of
But instead, we're going to do cosplay. Yeah.
Do we think anyone's in department today?
So I went in to grab some stuff from my office this morning, and I saw Craig Mackay was in his office, and I saw Mandy in the Ops building, and that was it. Oh, and while cycling back, I passed Matt Auger, who was out for a run on Midsummer Common. So that's 2 yeses and 1 no.
I presume the gold team is in as well, right? To change, given
Yeah,
what's
well, I mean,
said
I
as
mean,
well.
but
True, it could be doing remotely.
Well, at least I was lucky with the I think Mandy's.
I don't think Mandy would.
Whatever happens, Maddie.
I think if Mandy has to sell license.
these clues are so long today. I was looking at 16 just now.
You can go like everyone's gonna have long to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe. Then this is the only thing keeping people going.
Maybe the setters don't have anything else to do now, so they can dedicate all the time to making really heavy English clues.
I refuse to believe that anyone is more productive at this moment in time.
Uh-huh.
More for the like what you thought about it in and try and go out and insult me.
Okay.
Find us something in the garden.
So I want 19 to end in ED for drunk or very drunk. Very drunk, I guess. And then that could be the journalist. And then for 8 down, that fits something birds, maybe?
What the fuck is that?
Sounds slightly like a pterodactyl.
Who is Mendelssohn? Is it a composer or something?
Yeah. Is why I looked at it. I know enough to know who will have.
Could it be something embedded in Mendelssohn as part of it?
And
We didn't get anywhere with near do well, did we?
Opening.
I'm trying to think if there's any obscure Springsteen thing that could work here. Like Born in the USA or the E Street Band. Ne'er-do-well is just a good fit for good for nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, one down and two down is hangover, where it's Hanover with G inside it.
yeah.
So 19 presumably means very drunk.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that fits near do well. How put the W in 4 down? Yeah. Oh, is one across hoodwinked? And then you have hoodwin, but I'm not quite sure why fly is ked. Can fly just be ked? Yeah, it is. Okay. A ked is a kind of fly.
Do we think three down's wedding something?
Wedding march.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's it.
Oh,
Tom.
the stream has ended.
It's still on the ne'er-do-well.
And
Yeah. Don't put ne'er-do-well in.
Tom's still there.
Yeah, I'm still. Yeah, I just popped back.
Your stream's
the-
gone.
Oh right. Yeah.
Wedding
The
march.
Women Underground maybe?
yeah. Discord just occasionally crashes.
I like your picture, Tom. What's it of?
What was that there?
Your picture, your Discord
Yeah.
profile. What's a picture of?
Oh, it's just a screenshot from a video in which there's an alien invasion, and so someone climbs up onto the top of a building with an umbrella, and I thought it was funny.
That checks out as about the level of sincerity.
Wedding march.
So do we
Yeah, how have we passed it? So you got month for March.
It's a
Date
big
and wed.
of the wedding march.
day and date?
Day and
They
date.
could just be wed,
Day and date might be a phrase for
Day-
like.
Yeah.
and date has to be din.
Dinner date?
No, during, yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, there is. They went.
I'm going to learn.
Or did during. He is did during. In did during.
Yeah, date
Yeah.
the during in
Good.
could be much.
Oh yeah.
$1.4. I can't think of any It could be an everyone as well, but I can't tell what it would be.
Newt.
Yeah, is Newt?
Yes.
Is Newt's
Cat's called Newt.
Yeah.
They're not as drunk as a Newt, isn't it?
Yeah, is that a thing?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? And why did we parse it?
How did we get
It's just nets with W inside it.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
One a host. Hoodwinked. Yeah.
Yeah. Big letters.
Eel. Eaters.
It could be. I think it's probably a complaint, like a disease.
okay, yeah.
Hot elbow.
Hot elbow.
There's a middle answer many things ago.
Okay.
Apparently it's a thing.
I mean, I'm sure elbows can be hot. I don't doubt that.
9 is definitely ne'er-do-well.
Yeah. Born can be ne, N-E-E, or just N-E, I guess.
Yeah.
And then run can be R. And then I guess live is do well.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, where's disc is included?
Live could be oh well.
That's enough passing for me.
Yeah.
I guess we haven't filled that in properly. Oops, that's not how you spell that. Need to do well. Is it eel asthma?
I hope so.
Wow, what have you got against eels?
You weren't there, man. Can't see the first word of 12 being piss day.
It has to be plural.
Yeah. There could be multiple piss days. That's really cool.
I do wonder if play could be loot, as in L-O-O-T. And it's just like slang for steal something. And then it can be tool backwards.
Did we come back to it later?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
We'll think about it at least.
Mm-hmm.
See if I got it. See you later.
Right, see you later.
Yeah, see you guys in a bit. And I think we're back to just me. Yeah, we are. It is almost midday, so I'm gonna do my daily watch and apply my video and chatting about it. Very slowly making progress with this. Completely worn out. by nothing. It's always so infuriating being worn out by nothing. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. Cambridge term has just ended, and that always leaves me kind of a husk. Let's get the video up while we're getting rid of this. I am on YouTube. Although I do recommend the film Pioneer as well. It's close to impossible to understand. And let's get up a whiteboard as well. Just showed the world my embarrassing, made it when I was about 12 email address that I still use. And on how life grows exponentially, which, you know, good thing to be thinking about right now. We'll get started at 12 on the dot, I think. So I'll just do a couple more minutes staring at this maths being like, this doesn't make sense. That's why. Very quickly, I just want to check something. Just realised that in all my talking about log normal, do I mean the natural log? Yeah, I do. This seems dimensionally wrong. Maybe not. Maybe so. Alright, it is as good as 12, so let's watch a video. It's that part of the lesson.
allowed a live creature to create a copy of itself. In this video, we're going to make the model more realistic by completely getting rid of that spontaneous breaking, which we know is unrealistic for complex organisms. Along the way, we'll build some graphs to take it closer.
So it's interesting to see that if we get rid of that, our current equilibrium calculation flies out the window.
To look at how replicating populations behave with or without a spontaneous breakdown. We'll actually have two kinds of graphs. The first kind will track the number of creatures over time in simulation. The number over time graphs will be a bit different each time we run a simulation, even if the settings for that simulation are exactly the same. Our second kind of graph will take a bit longer to build, but it'll help us understand what these number over time graphs have in common, and even predict what we'd expect the graph to look like before we run a simulation. For this second type, instead of plotting data from a simulation, we're going to graph a function where one quantity depends directly on another without any random. So the first step in creating this graph will be to tweak our equation from 4 and make it a function equation that lets us plug values in and get values out. The starting point from before was to set the total birth rate equal to the total death rate. When these are equal, we expect some creatures to die each time step, but we expect the same number to appear to replace them. The overall expected change in the population would be 0. So how can we extend this thinking to make a function equation? Well, instead of assuming the birth and death rate are the same, we can subtract them to get the overall expected change. For this, we'll use the symbol delta. If you add the ones that are born and subtract the ones that die, you get the total change. The total expected change will still be 0 some of the time, but now we have a foothold for thinking about cases where we do expect an overall change, which is good because, as you can see, the number of creatures does change pretty constantly. And our equation is starting to look like a function equation. The last step is to write the birth and death rates in.
There's something quite alien to me about the way that we're kind of building up to this. But then each of us, whether it's none at all or many years of it, has a different path through how they conceptualize and build mathematical relations. The lovely thing about maths is the mathematical relations themselves don't much care what path you've taken to get there. Some are very hard to get to if you've gone by some paths, but once you're there, they mean the same thing regardless of your approach. And that, in some ways, is I think why so many people are so attracted to maths, because it's a language of neat certainties.
In terms of the total number of creatures, and then we'll be able to draw the graph. We did this in the last video, but let's run through it again. We can break the total birth rate into the spontaneous birth rate, which we're going to get rid of later, plus the replication rate, which is the chance of a single creature to replicate at a given time, multiplied by the total number of creatures. Similarly, the total death rate is the chance for a single creature to die, multiplied again by the total number of creatures. Finally, we can rearrange things to see more clearly that the replication and the chances are competing to
So let's just keep this up.
net change per creature. This difference is going to have a big impact on the population. So now we have the expected change written as a function of the number of creatures. For any number of creatures n, we can determine the expected change delta. Alright, let's look at a specific situation. Let's make the spontaneous birth rate 1, so each time step we'll see one brand new creature pop into existence on its own. The death chance for each creature will be 0.2, so each living creature will have a 1 in 5 chance of dying each time step. And to start out, let's leave the replication chance at 0. Alright, now we get that satisfying feeling of plotting all the points and making a curve. When we have 0 creatures, the expected change is equal to the spontaneous birth rate, and as n increases, the expected change decreases by 0.2 per creature. Notice this point here where delta is equal to 0. That's our old friend, the equilibrium point from before. At that point, which is 5 creatures in this case, we don't expect any change.
So something that I've been teaching a lot recently, so I've been teaching actually astrophysical fluid dynamics, which you might be like, how is it relevant to this? But something that you see really clearly here is that this is a really common, well, this is almost is the definition of a stable behaviour. one where, because remember this is telling us how much to change n, where if we go beyond some crucial n, it tells us get rid of some n, you've got too many n, and we go back to this number. If we go below some crucial n, it says there's too few n, have more n, and we go back to it. Regardless of the gradient of this line, it could be coming down like this, or it could be just cutting through like this. As long as the gradient is negative, the system is stable. Any system where that gradient is positive is not stable. Even if there's an equilibrium point, even if there's a number where delta is 0, it can still be at equilibrium, it can still be balanced, but just some tiny little impulse and it will fall. And the reason I've been talking about this a lot in fluid dynamics is that there's a lot of systems like stuff moving through the surface, through the upper layers of a star, where what you're looking for is the moment where the thing becomes unstable and suddenly the whole star kind of gives over to turbulent convective motion. I almost wish, I understand why this is called delta, not n dot, but I almost wish that this was actually called like delta n or something, just to give you a picture that we're comparing a quantity to the rate at which it's changing. So, it's a completely vertical line. One way of looking at that in a slightly different language is if we're comparing the rate of change, so how much x changes for a small change in time, to the value. And any curve which looks like this is going to be stable. And any curve that looks like this is going to be unstable. And when you actually have a complex system, this is actually often many dimensional. You often have a kind of like, let's not introduce vector quality, but sometimes your curve of x dot versus x will look like this, and we'll have a stable bit here, stable equilibrium here, an unstable equilibrium here. And so if you, for example, started just here, where that little red dot is, it's very hard to see, then it would be pushed away from this equilibrium. It would be told, have a negative velocity, have your dx by dt less than 0, so go down and down and down, and it would end up here. And it wouldn't, even if it like had a little bit of random variation around this point, it would just go back and forth around this point, ending up in this vicinity. So I think this is a really good way of thinking about stability of systems. Just, if I disturb it slightly, does it like to damp down the disturbance? Does the disturbance resist the change? Or does the disturbance go with the change?
If the number of creatures goes below 5, we'll then expect a positive change at the next time step, pushing the population back toward 5. And if n goes above 5, we'll expect a negative change, again pushing it back toward equilibrium. To toss another vocabulary term at you, this is known as a stable equilibrium. At this point, the birth and death rates are in balance, and it's stable because if you deviate from that point, the system will tend to go back. It's self-regulated as if there's a rubber band pulling the system backward whenever it's shifting. So what kind of number will time graph this produce? If the simulation is at equilibrium, our best guess is that there will be 0 change in the next time step. Right, that's what this point is. The expected change is 0. So over time, what we expect is for the simulation to stay at the equilibrium number. This straight line might seem naive because we've seen how these simulations can fluctuate like crazy, but if we graph the data from a whole bunch of simulations at the same time, we can start to see that this really is a pretty good guess for what to expect on average. Now, what happens if we add a replication chance? The slope of the line changes, and so does the equilibrium point. Overall, though, things are pretty much the same. Things get interesting when the replication chance is the same as the death chance. In this case, we get a flat line and the equilibrium disappears. If you saw the last video, this is where we divided by 0 and our equation broke. There is no equilibrium. What about number over time graphs in this kind of situation? There's no more.
So it's always nice to just pause these things and think through what you might see before you actually see it. What is this telling us? That things on average are reborn as quickly as they die. The only thing that is still going to have an effect here is there is still a kind of magic popping out of the ether birth rate. So things that exist will die as quickly as they respawn, which means that that number would likely stay constant, but could vary a lot, like could go anywhere. This number though is likely to mean that it always is tending up, and even if it does go to 0, this will mean that in the future it can
Equilibrium, but we can still say
be
something
reborn.
about growth rate. That's why we wrote this function equation in the first place. No matter how many creatures there are, the death and replication chances offset each other, and we expect the population to constantly grow at the spontaneous growth rate, which in this case is at 1 creature per time step. So, starting at 5 creatures again, the expected curve looks like this. Steady growth. And just like before, we can convince ourselves that this is a good guess by plotting the results of lots of simulations on top of it.
So it's slightly, this plotting lots of simulations on top of each other is a really great way to go about seeing these things. But I kind of wish, and maybe something I'll put some stuff together to talk about, I kind of wish we were talking about this more in terms of the distribution of possible outcomes, because you can see that these, it's hard to see here, but they do tend, they are more clustered around the expected value, but there is a distribution of them, and we can make really solid predictions of what that distribution will look like, and then rather than just testing like, do these look like our line, we can say actually, are these within a testable statistical significance of our predicted distribution. That's a way of looking at mathematics rarely taught, because it is always a step more complex, not just to say this is the predicted behaviour, but this is the predicted deviation from that behaviour. I'd love to encourage that way of teaching to be done more. I think it's a really good step in teaching maths, not just so that you can pass through the notional world of what you're going to write in an exam, but actually the real world, and start equipping yourself to be able to make useful, verifiable predictions about what will happen in the real world under your assumptions. Because it doesn't tell you that much to predict the behaviour and then maybe see it. It tells you a lot to predict behaviour and then predict what good evidence of that would look like, and then look at your evidence.
There's something extra to notice here though. That rubber band effect at the stable equilibrium is gone. So we see this spread develop as time passes. Things get even more interesting when the replication chance is higher than expected. We get a positive slope, and this reverses that rubber band effect. When the number of creatures goes up, the expected change also goes up, causing the number to go up even more than expected.
So all of the discussion earlier was about kind of where everything relevant to this 0 point. There not being a 0 point here means that there is no equilibrium at all. There is no number that can hang out around. And it is also unstable. So basically, over time, n will just increase faster and faster and faster, which will mean that the rate of change of n will increase faster and faster and faster. You get a feedback loop.
Two feed off of each other, going up and up and up. The result is exponential growth. It's slightly more involved to show this precisely, so I'll link to some other resources in the description in case you want proof. But once again, we can look at a bunch of simulations to confirm the result. Notice how the number of creatures is much higher.
Let's give that piece of proof. So I'm going to do this in, I'm going to turn this into an x dot, but doesn't really matter. I prefer lowercase things. I'm going to just call this replication minus death rate and we're looking at x dot versus x. So how can I show that this is an exponential growth? Well, this is, the left hand side is dx by dt. Integrating this is going to be hard when I've got x's on both sides, so let's move it to, this is a way of looking at calculus that has potential failures, but basically you can split up derivatives. And then I can integrate over both sides, and this left hand side is the log and the right hand side is just t plus some or minus some constant, which let's call t naught. Which means that the b plus gamma x is e to the t minus t naught. So it's growing, as we expected, exponentially, which means that x is e to the t minus t naught over gamma minus b. So this bit is the bit that's growing exponentially. This bit is the bit that's going shoop up there. The larger this is, well, it just moves the curve around basically. Do I trust my own maths there? I think I do.
Higher here. This explosive growth comes from that tiny bump in the replication chance. Also, the spread is even worse this time because of the reversal of the rubber band effect. Now, let's finally set that spontaneous birth rate to 0. We still have that reverse rubber band effect, where the expected change gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But if the population is ever 0, it gets stuck. There are no creatures to replicate, and none are going to be born spontaneously. This is called extinction. It's over for those creatures. So, if we start with a few creatures, 2 in this case, some simulations will grow exponentially and quickly be in no danger of extinction. But others will get unlucky and die out, never to come back.
So I think this is where it would be great to be seeing the uncertainty around this curve, and again, I'll think about a good way to show that in future, because you can actually ask how likely is it that the group will become extinct based on the replication rate and the death rate in the initial population, and above some population it becomes less and less likely.
Creatures that depend only on replication are in a nice setting, especially when the numbers are small.
That ceases to be true for more complex organisms, and as we go on through this we'll be building up more complex organisms. There are ways that small, like actually for a lot of animals, a small enough population, even though it isn't 0, can be heading to extinction because of the low genetic diversity. But I think another really important point here that is worth just making really explicitly is that a creature that has all the tools needed to grow, is likely to grow, is likely to prosper, is likely to exponential grow, can die out. In a stochastic world, just because something should, on average, succeed, it will often fail. not because, but like even though something should on average succeed, it will often fail. Equally, something that should on average fail can succeed. And this happens quite a lot in genetics.
If complex organisms can't appear spontaneously, and they can't replicate unless they already exist, how do they get their start? We'll find out as we keep building our model in the next video. See you then. Hey, thanks for watching. And thanks to everyone who...
And again, thank you to Primer for putting these videos together. I think I'm going to end the stream there, and I'll be back some point this afternoon. Thanks for joining.